Let me
So,
guess.
yeah.
Reddit stories?
You know it, baby.
Let's go.
So some of these are like, you're like, okay, yeah, that's definitely what we're talking about. Some of them you're like, maybe, but
Okay,
either way, we got some stories, boo-boo.
let's do it.
All right. So I'm just going to jump right on in. I lived in Waynesboro. Is VA? What's VA?
Virginia, you're
Virginia.
right.
No one can see that I'm literally doing a VA with my fingers.
She's doing like a peace sign, A-town down.
Well, because it's okay. For about 5 years, less than 10 miles to the BRP North entrance. I don't know what that is, but okay.
I'm gonna guess some sort of park. Yeah.
Skyline Drive South entrance. I used to take bike rides along SD all the time and always kept a year-long membership, only in the day though, just to frame the story. One night, as I was having a particularly hard time settling in for bed, so I decided to start up my bike and ride up to the first overlook on Skyline, only about a mile inside the park. It was about 11 p.m. when I got up there and pitch black. I killed the bike and got immediately uncomfortable. Because who the hell would do that?
I mean,
It is so dark.
when I lived by the state park, man, I used to go all hours.
Yeah, but you were probably in a car.
At Bald Mountain? No, I would just hike from the back of the apartment complex.
You have issues. I'm not a guy that gets spooked in the dark. Truthfully, I prefer the dark in most situations. You can see people before they see you. You are particularly invisible unless someone is looking for you. And I find the natural privacy comforting. Not up there, though. It was a thick, oppressive dark, worse than anything I had experienced outside of a cave, and worse than any moonless night in the Appalachian Trail.
I was gonna say, though, I wouldn't do it in Appalachia, but is Virginia? I guess it would still be on the Appalachian Trail, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would have. Fuck.
Yeah, I guess if West Virginia is straight up
on a motorcycle at 11 p.m. in the dark.
Okay.
No.
Given the location, no, I wouldn't.
Okay. I don't know what this means. I immediately got hinked out big time. Hinked out?
It.
Me either. Okay. There's nothing up there besides wildlife, I reassured myself internally. I had my 44 mag revolver from when I lived hiked in the Pacific Northwest bear country and all that jazz, tucked into my CCW holster, so I knew I definitely outmatched anything that could come up there.
Anything living?
Right.
Well, I guess not living,
I don't
but
know.
Normal living.
Right, yeah. He wrote two-legged snakes included. Okay. So I sat in the dark, leaning against the bike for a while and looking at the few lights I could see in the valley below. I managed about 10 minutes before I physically felt the hair rise on my back, the back of my neck. I only did 27 months in Iraq, but I remembered that precise feeling someone was watching me. Something bad was coming. It was the same sensation I would get before IDF came in or the shooting sound somewhere nearby. I'm no psychic or whatever, but it's a common thing among vets with any time under their belt. Ask them about it. How do you like this guy's story?
His personality really shines through in his writing.
I know. It's kind of why I picked it.
Like, I could have guessed he was a vet almost before that line.
You can feel hateful eyes on you. The overlook was a sheer drop, or nearly so. So I wasn't concerned about anything popping up in that direction, but the mountainside and thick, untamed woods were behind me. I started thinking about methed out dudes creeping in the Appalachian Trail, bears and the like. It's just so funny.
Okay, I love that we're freaked out about methed out guys before bears, but, go off.
The AT is no stranger to random violence. Still feeling creeped out, I took up a seat on the waist-high stone wall and marked the overlook ledge facing the woods. Again, I can't emphasize how dark it was, but Grizz, you might say, that's him. Why not turn on the bike and use the lights?
Why
It'll
not,
at least
Grizz?
help you. Yeah, it'll at least help you see what's close. True, but my bike is loud. All caps. And the last thing I wanted was attention. Plus, the light would just night blind me, if anything, just out of view. And the noise would obscure the stealthy sounding creeping going on. So no thanks. I'll watch and listen for a bit. Which that is really smart because a lot of people would turn that light on, but then you really can't actually see.
And especially if something is tracking you, you just gave up your position.
Exactly. I sat in the dark for another 10 minutes or so, anxiety getting worse and worse. I heard a few things, but nothing out of the ordinary for a night in the woods. I decided to head on home, since that feeling wasn't going away. Like I said, I had a big boar on me, so anything playing games would be in for a powerful surprise if the games got stupid. Hopping onto my Suzuki, I started it up and rode off towards the gate. Now, anyone who lives in the country and rides bikes knows the wildlife is crazy active on the roads that aren't traveled on often at night. Being nighttime and technically closed, I had to ride around the gate to get in. There were no other vehicles on the road at all. I hadn't seen a single other person since leaving Waynesboro proper. The speed limit was about 30, but I clipped along at a measly 15 miles to keep my eye on the deer and the wildlife. It wouldn't do me any good to fuck myself up in a wreck only to lay only to lay there all night until someone happened to cross me in the morning.
Especially if you're hearing weird shit.
Right. Then I saw it. The term of almost deer is really fitting, not but quite accurate. It was like a deer that someone who had never seen a deer drew, but only after someone else described it to them. It stood up on the left side of the road mountainside, and I saw the eyes long before the headlight shone it fully. It was big, easily the biggest deer I've ever seen, and the lack of any horns that time of the year suggested it was a doe. The head was almost bovine in shape, but fixed to a deer's frame. The legs seemed too long in proportion to the body. Think maned wolf proportions, and the body
Yeah.
was extremely barrel chested. I've always been creeped out by male-formed wildlife, and this was no exception. Unfortunately, I had to get it to move, or the risk of passing
Oh, it
within a
was in
few
front of the
feet of it.
gate?
Yeah. Well, it was on the mountainside, but like,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. I was
Yikes.
not traveling another 30 plus miles up the road in the other direction to leave through another gate in the middle of the night. And
Not
I
when it already
wasn't
knows where
getting
you are.
right. And I wasn't getting close to it. Dangers of it spooking and running into the side of my cruiser aside, I didn't want to get near it at all. Stopping and putting my feet down about 30, it just says 30 away from it. I tried to frighten it away. I flashed my beams down low and back high, nothing. I revved my engine, nothing. I honked considerably, horn, nada. Resting the bike in the kickstand, I let it idle and hopped off. I yelled at the thing and it still didn't budge. As soon as I crossed into the other lane, it rose up onto its hind legs. I froze, putting my hand on my gun. I wasn't about to get charged by any angry, confused, malformed doe.
You see, now Grizz has taken more time than I would have. I would be probably firing at this
I'd
point.
be screaming. It took two jerky, unnatural steps towards the center of the lane on two legs and froze again, staring directly at me. It suddenly shook its head wildly like a dog with a toy, took another short step, then hopped on two legs several times until it disappeared into the darkness on the right side of the road. What the
Like, that is terrifying in and of itself but if you're out in the woods alone, right, like that is now 100 times worse. If you don't have anybody, you're just and you don't know where it's gone into the woods now. I'm peeling out of there.
Yeah, so I stepped back onto my bike, mounted it, kicked the kickstand, and turned the lights toward the side of the road. On that side, there was a sheer drop off, like 75 to 80 compared to the roadway, and the fuckery thing's head was just peeking over the edge, still looking at me. The drop was about 40 to 50, so there's no way it was standing at the base of the mountainside. I cracked the throttle and beat the hell out of their road wildlife be damned. I never went back up the Skyline Drive at night alone after that. One time was enough. There are things we don't grok out there. What does that mean? Whatever. Or
This guy's got some slang.
It's wild. Or things that just visit for a while. Whatever it wasn't from around these parts in Hill Talk. It can go back to wherever it came from and stay there. And then he added a little edit and it says, Grizz is my road name as used above. This was originally posted to my social media.
I love this guy, and I really wish I could just see a picture of him because the mental image I have of him is freaking amazing.
He didn't have a picture on his thing, but his name on Reddit is __.c.
Okay.
So thanks, Chris.